Now, sometimes when we get questions for our visits with certified transmission, they're very specific, and that's good. We like that. It allows for the best possible answer.
Other times, questions are general enough that many of us can benefit from the answers. That's the case for the third question lined up this morning.
Yeah, we got two more before that, though.
Right.
First, let's meet our guest, Peter Fink from Certified Transmission.
Hi, Peter.
Good to see you,
Good
Peter.
morning, Mike.
Good
Mary.
morning.
Yeah, good to see you.
Oh, always fun to be here. Nice, cool morning.
Our
Nice
car's working properly right now. It's so dang
Well,
cold
probably
out there.
not. You know, I mean, that's kind of a good news, bad news for the owners of shops or mechanics. And
You know
then
what,
the
this is-
owner, the cars, well, you might have to spend a little bit of money.
The last thing you want is to get stranded when it's 2 degrees.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
No,
you
know?
I'll tell you what, that is dangerous. There's no doubt. Of course, the big thing is we got cell phones today, so that's a monster difference compared to 20 years ago.
That's
Or
true.
something.
And we do have a question relating back to weather, but first, Jess wonders, what does this mean? Take a look. And then she says, I know it's not the check engine light. We've got the picture right here to take a look at this. So I don't know what exactly we're looking at. Peter, I don't know if you got a look at that zoomed in earlier. So
I looked at the picture about 2 minutes ago. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So what are we looking at
Okay,
here?
that's a tire pressure gauge. Okay, what it means is you have one of your 4 tires is low, or possibly all of them. Okay, if you got one low tire, they've got a light that comes on that tells you. I really do like that feature. Okay, because people today, none of us check our air pressure. Okay, we're all guilty of it. We don't have time. At the gas stations are really not set up for it anymore. Okay, self-service for gas and nothing else. Okay, sometimes you can't even find an air thing. Okay, or whatever to put air in. So we don't check it. So this light deal is a big deal. I think it came about from probably the Ford Explorer with the tire low pressure, and they had some rollovers and things like
That's
this.
right.
And tire pressure is really critical because it can affect your driving and you can lose control without it. Plus your gas mileage goes down drastically when the air pressure isn't correct. So
That first cold blast that we got, my tire pressure gauge, the sensor went off too.
Yep.
So I went and filled up, and when I checked with the gauge, each tire was down probably about 10 pounds per tire.
Wow.
when it
And
gets
it's probably
cold,
when it's cold.
when it gets cold, the air does shrink, okay, and so it will be down. 10 pounds probably was low.
That's
already
deferred
before the
maintenance, Peter.
Not enough for the light,
That's
but I mean,
deferred
it
maintenance.
just
Well,
was
that's
enough
what
to
that
do it.
is.
Right.
Nitrogen helps if you go. It doesn't shrink as bad in the cold or in the heat.
So how much
okay?
can the cold take your air pressure down? 3, 4
You
pounds?
know, oh, I'm sure every bit of that. Yeah, I'm sure because I know when I used to race cars, when the tires
What?
warm up, you
Used
know,
to
they
race
would.
cars?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Peter's,
oh,
yeah, he's a car. You didn't know that?
Well, no, he's a collector. I didn't know
No,
you
he's
used
a
to
racer.
race
Yeah.
them.
Oh, racer.
Tire pressure would change anywhere from 7 to 10 pounds on from cold tires to warm tire or hot tires. Okay,
So, like,
definitely.
what else don't we know about you, Peter?
Well, there's probably a few things.
Okay, let's go on. Jeff
sure.
writes in. He says, my 2000 Silverado 1500 started making a loud whirring noise as I was driving to work this morning. No difference in the performance, but noise got deeper when I made turns. The power steering seems to perform okay. Noise increases with RPMs. Any thoughts?
Sure sounds like we've got a low fluid situation on the power steering pump. Okay, so first thing to do is check it. Okay, get it up to the proper level. If it's following engine RPM, the belts drive the power steering pump. The engine increases, the pump on the power steering wheel, and then since you said it turns and makes more noise, probably the power steering pump. Hopefully you haven't ruined it yet. Okay.
Oh boy.
One thing you'd like to do, and a lot of people don't, or I should say don't like to do, but you need to do, okay, is change the power steering fluid, okay? A lot of people don't do that, kind of like transmission fluid. Everyone does their oil, okay, on the engine, but the other fluids don't get done, okay? Check the fluid level, top it off. If it goes away, if it doesn't, BG has a real good product that you can put in to service the power steering, change the fluid, and they've got a conditioner. Sometimes it brings it back and quiets that noise back down and stuff. So I would try that first. Otherwise, it's going to get a little expensive replacing that power steering
Sounds like
pump.
do something about it sooner than later
Yeah,
so
get
you're
on
not causing additional damage.
Anytime you start early usually saves you money, okay, and stuff. So.
Here's a cold weather question. Carrie asks, is there a rule for heating up cars in the cold weather? Do all cars need to be warmed up or just older models?
Okay, great question. The reason older models needed to be warmed up so much is because they were carbureted, okay, and they had them choke on them. And until the car warmed up properly. If that choke wasn't adjusted right and it was fairly tricky, you know, they would stutter and stall and die and everything like this. So that's why you did let an older car warm up. Of course, it helped to get those fluids lubricating and moving and stuff like this. On a newer car, obviously we don't have chokes. They're fuel injected and it's computer controlled and they really run right. They don't stutter and fall on their face or stall, but you still want to give them at least 30 seconds to just get things circulating. And if it really sat outside and it's below zero, give it a minute. I know that minute seems like 10 minutes when you're sitting in the car. You know, the remote start's a nice thing, obviously. That they'll warm up for 10 minutes, okay, or whatever. But if you don't have the remote start, give it at least 30 seconds to a minute just to let everything start moving and wiggling and all that kind of stuff, you know, before you go.
I'll tell you what, I did some home renovation, so my garage was unavailable for my vehicle. So I left it outside in the driveway for a couple days. And some of those cold weather days, you can really notice a difference. It was like, I mean, the car feels different when it's cold out.
It's just stiff. It's like us. I'm getting
like
out of
us.
bed. We don't want to
Us.
move yet until we loosen up and exercise and
Have
stretch.
have a cup of coffee.
That's right. The
and-
car's kind of the same way, you know, believe it or not, okay? Power steering doesn't feel quite the same. The starter,
The
when you
shocks,
hit it,
you go over a bump and
oh, God, yes. I mean, you know, they're rough. I mean, they don't move.
5 locations for certified transmission in our area, and we know that as Peter says, if you feel like you've got an issue, he specializes in transmission. So if you feel like there's something going on with yours, it's smart to get it in, get it looked at, and then before it develops into some major issue that sets you back. So online at certifiedtransmission.com, you can make appointments there and more. Peter, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks, Peter.
Always fun.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming
Great to see
in.
you.
All right.
And a few ways to get your